A gift from the divine. Hello there. This is Now Tell Us. I'm your host, Anthony Murore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And always we have some great guests who come and join us every time. And that means that even today, we have a great guest with us. Her name is Holly Potter. She's going to be here shortly. But before she comes, let me remind you to please share this episode with all your friends. If you have a question during the show, please ask. We love your interaction. And if you have any feedback on the podcast, then please give us. We appreciate feedback. So, once again, I'm your host, Anthony Murore, a motivational speaker and author. Written a book being good, known as Be Good for Good, or and also the Achieve Your Dream Workbook. You can get them on Amazon. And now let's go and meet our special guest today. Are you ready? Here we go. Holly Potter. Holly Potter. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. I almost said Harry Potter.
I hear Harry Potter
Uh,
all the time.
uh, yeah, your name nears that.
Yes.
How did you get your name?
Well, I was due on Christmas and I was born on New Year's. So that's where Holly came from. And then I got the other name being married into it.
Okay, that's good. So, welcome to our show. This is Now Tell Us, and we are glad to have you here.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Where in the world are you?
I am located about 2 hours north of Las Vegas, Nevada, in the United States, in a
Hmm.
town called St. George, Utah.
That's good. How is it there now? Because I hear most parts of the world are snowy. Does your part snow?
No, about 45 minutes north it does, but if we get it, it melts right away. But it's been very cold for here.
Okay, okay, okay. So we are here. I don't know what happened to the image, but it's okay. We can keep going. Eh, The internet has its way of doing things, and some of the things we just leave to the divine.
That's right.
And talking about the divine, today we are going to be sharing a topic that I know you're passionate about, something that you'd like to share with us about a gift from the divine. But before we go into that, maybe we can know what is it that Holly does?
Whoa, more what is it that I don't do? I've I've had 11 different startup
Yeah.
companies. I've been an entrepreneur most all of my life, and I love working with people and building relationships, building communities, being an early adapter. I love tech. I have a new company right now that I'm getting ready to launch that's in tech, which I've never done before. And so that goes along with my nonprofit. That's the philanthropy piece to the software company. So yeah, I got lots of things going on. Have just launched a new podcast for the nonprofit and like to keep busy.
Yeah, and when you talk about the non-profit, I think it's something that we are going to be sharing, as it's what we are basing our episode on. And I would like to go back to how all this come to be, and then along the line, we are going to be connected to the gift, and the listener or the viewer will get to know how is this gift. Now, tell us your story, that touching story.
Yeah. Wow. It's a long story, probably longer than we have today. I'll
Mhm.
just share some little nuggets. So I found myself, along with a lot of the world, getting COVID fall of 2021. I went to a conference and came home sick and found out I had COVID, spent about a week at home before I intuitively knew that I needed to get to the hospital now. And when I got there, my oxygen was 63. My husband also had COVID, thanks to me. And how we got to the hospital, I will never know because we were both so sick. We didn't even dare call an ambulance or family because we didn't want them to catch what we had. And he was sent home because he had COVID and he wasn't bad enough to be kept at the hospital. And that began my first of 70 days in the hospital with COVID. And I
Mm,
was intubated 2 times, and I had a trach, and I had sepsis, and a couple other infections that I can't even pronounce. And honestly, I'm a walking miracle that I feel so blessed that I was able to leave because so many in my condition did not. And not only to be intubated once, but twice. That's most of us just knew back then once you get put on a ventilation, that's pretty much it for you. And I defied all those odds, and I had many out of experiences. I had a near death experience. I had a spiritual transformational experience. And each of those alone probably could take a whole show. So you can just feel free to ask me any questions that you feel are on your heart. I'm an open book and I'm happy to answer them for you.
mm. It's quite a story, and you've been through. You went through a lot, and I just can recall that time when people are going through that period. The COVID time was one of the worst times in the recent history.
I can't think of anything in the history of the whole world that
Mm-hmm.
affected everybody so quickly all at once as COVID.
Mm. And knowing that you went there, that you almost saw your life going, and then you are back with us here. That's quite a good thing. It's a miracle, as you're saying, and it's good to just experience your miracle with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, it's been wild. I was really blessed to have great family. Um,
Hmm.
I have I have 8 siblings of my own. I have 8 children of my own
Wow.
and almost 17 grandkids. So we've had a couple more since I was sick 2 years ago. But they're such a blessing, and they were so much help. At the time I was in the hospital, they were allowing one person to come stay with me every 24 hours. And my sisters, they're twins, they're just below me in our lineup in our family. And pretty early on they knew that I needed someone there with me all the time. I honestly know, and they know it too, if they wouldn't have been there I would have died, because they helped keep the energy room. They helped the nurses. They held the nurses accountable and the doctors for that matter. And they were so overwhelmed. We had great medical care, but they were so overwhelmed at that time. It was a blessing that I was able to have one person with me at all times. And I had a daughter that came and helped, and a sister, another sister, and a couple other people they had come, to take the shifts or whatever. But yeah, it was I had to learn. I mean, I will say one time I lost all 5 senses. So, like taste and smell, I lost because of COVID. My hands were tied to the bed so I wouldn't pull out my ventilator. And I never wanted to, by the way, but that I couldn't touch anything. And I am already legally, way past legally blind without contacts or my glasses. And so if I didn't have those on, which I didn't most of the time, I couldn't see who anyone was. And then the ventilator took away 90% of my hearing, which isn't normal for most people. But it sounded like, if you're familiar with Charlie Brown and how the teacher just did that, oh, 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 that's what you'd hear. That's what I like heard people that just you couldn't make out what anyone was saying. And unless they were standing 8 inches in front of my face, I couldn't even tell who they were. They had the hat on, the mask, the gown. So it was awful. So I was happy they put me in a coma most of the time. And sometimes it was paralyzed and sometimes it was just a regular coma. But that was when I had all my experiences and my gift from the divine, so to speak.
Wow. And first and foremost, even before you go in deep, because maybe you would like to know, to hear a bit of the experiences. But before you go there, I was surprised when you say that you have 8 children and how many grandchildren?
17.
17 grandchildren. How old are you?
Yeah. They know how to produce. How old am I?
If
Oh,
you can.
well, I feel like I just aged 10 years the last couple years thanks to being sick. I just turned 56 on New Year's Day.
Wow.
I started young.
Wow, wow. This is quite a story. It's quite a story. And I admire you. So it's good to have a family. And it's good to have a loving family, which you have. And it's good to have, it's a different thing to have a large, big family that is loving. That's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
It's a great blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm happy for you. And
Thank you.
and this is why you couldn't go anywhere. I mean, how could you how could you leave all these people who are looking upon you and yeah, maybe depending upon you, several of them, maybe they are still young and depending upon you. So you had to be here.
Yep, I
Mm,
do.
mm,
I don't have any children at home anymore. I haven't for about 11 years. Lots of grandkids. Yeah. But I feel like the I was told I say I was schooled in my like you would be in a class,
mhm,
basically in the steps of what to do and what's next and the nonprofit I did and the name and everything came while I was in my coma. So when I came out, even though I had a lot of COVID fog, I still have COVID fog 2 years later. It was really, really not good when I got out of the hospital. I just the short term memory was awful, and but I knew those experiences. I knew I hit the ground running as soon as I could, not literally because I couldn't run anymore, but I basically within 3 months after getting out of the hospital, I had two companies incorporated. So I had the nonprofit. We applied for our 501c3 that year, and we had so many miracles. But one of the miracles with that was we got our nonprofit in 25 days, which is just it's a 501c3, almost unheard of,
mm,
and just all these different blessings along the way because I feel like that before I got sick, I was busy. I had companies, I wrote books, I was traveling, I was speaking. Life was good.
mhm,
And I couldn't really tell you like what I'm so passionate about. I was always passionate about many things. Always had 3 or 4 companies at a time.
mm.
And I loved it. And I woke up happy every day. I couldn't really say that like this is it for me. This is the end. And I've moved to a lot of different houses in my life. Same reason. I couldn't like walk into my house and say, this is my forever home. I've never felt that, even though I'm at home in every home. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Now, for someone who may be joining us right now, we are talking to Holly Potter, and she's telling us about a gift from the divine. And one thing that already excites me up to this point about Holly is her energy and her commitment. I would have to tell people that you were really committed to have this thing working. We spent so much time just in preparation, and you wouldn't give up on having it right. And I love your determination. Now you must have a lot of energy, and this is I'm just trying to picture these. You're talking of having several companies at the same time. At the same time, you're having 8 children. How did you make it?
I don't know.
How, how did you make it?
Like years ago, I mean, I'm a lot slower now. mostly because of what the long COVID has done for my body and my mind and everything else. But years ago, when I had children that were teenagers, lots and lots of teenagers in the house, we were running I had a real estate company that I was a broker for. I had a salon and spa that I worked in still like 3 days a week, maybe four, doing that. And I had a fundraising company that we would do to raise money for your dance clubs, your schools, your basketball teams, all that. And we were doing soccer. I was over a teenager pageant for youth development. I was a Rotary president during that time, which is an international service club. Like, it was busy. Life was just super busy. And I was so happy. Like, I liked it. I didn't want to be in the overwhelmed stage, which it was sometimes. And I just liked the energy of all that. And so I feel like I've always created that. And that being said, I never really, like, it, just like I said before, I never really figured out this is it. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by this is it, and there were so many miracles, like I said, that happened. One thing I'll mention, I didn't have insurance my whole life, medical
Mm.
insurance. Two
Mm.
months before I got sick, I got medical insurance, and my bill was $1 million.
Wow.
So just things, blessings, and things that were gifts. There were so many gifts. The biggest thing I would say for me was the being in my coma and having that, so to speak, life mapped, feel like it was mapped out for me. I mean, my software company, that it was just a concept at the time, in the works. I was going to partner with another company. I got told in my coma, that is not your best, way to go. Don't do that. Do this on your own. And then I got told about the nonprofit. I always wanted a nonprofit, but I could never land on what kind to start. And people would say, just back somebody else. And there's so many good causes. And I loved philanthropy, but that wasn't it. And so when I was in my coma, it's like, to get the idea, I would have never started a nonprofit for long COVID. Number one, it's new, right? It didn't exist before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a new thing. It's an uphill battle, I will say, because people don't want to hear about COVID. People that we support that have long COVID, there's 65 million people documented. So there's way more
Mm.
that have long COVID with 200 symptoms. So when you think about all the medical symptoms, 200 symptoms are linked to long COVID. You think we'll ever run out of people to help? There's going to be so many people that need this support. We need the awareness. Even though we want to forget about it, the people with long COVID want to forget about it more than anybody.
Mm. Because people are still experiencing a lot of symptoms way after they have gone through the toughest time.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I went through the list one time. There's 200 symptoms. I checked off. I need to do it again and see, because I've gotten some more, because some go away and then some new ones come. I
Mm-hmm.
had at least 75 symptoms left over
Mm.
that you have to deal with from long COVID. Not fun.
Mm. Wow. Wow. So, your organization, this non-profit that is focusing on long haul COVID, um, do you use the word victim, or they're just curious? Um, it is known as the Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation. What exactly does it do?
Well, we help people that have long COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty simple, um, what we do. Like, it's right there. Our avatar, our people, is just people in that group. And so we do create experiences and wishes of things that they couldn't maybe do in their future. I'm all about creating an experience for somebody, creating a memory, because you never know with whatever COVID has created for them in their body. You just never, I mean, that might be what ends up taking their life, not COVID, but it was the complications of something. A lot of people have long COVID and they don't know it. If you have a illness, for instance, that you had not before you got COVID, then you got COVID, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing more Alzheimer's, dementia, cancer, autoimmune like crazy. It catches your body like I have rheumatoid arthritis now. I didn't have that before. And I was pretty severe within just a couple months out of the hospital. I might have got it in my life, and I didn't have it before COVID. So all of a sudden now too, and have RA and all these, my body's just like firing all these things. And a lot of times when you get one autoimmune, then more follow. So a lot of people, it's just people aren't aware what's happening. People in the healthcare don't really know that much about it because it's new. It's really challenging to find a doctor that will listen. They think you're crazy, a lot of them. And these people need to know they're not crazy. They're not. They're legitimately having these issues for reasons. And so we need to find out, what are the reasons? How can we treat it? No, there's no one size fits all. Everybody is going to be different. Everybody's symptoms are different. I mean, it's just not like, oh, I caught a cold and I have a runny nose and a headache. They have lots and lots of issues from it.
A lot of issues. Let me ask. It's gonna drive us back to that time that we didn't know what to take, what not to take, what to do. Uh, had you gone through the vaccinations?
Yeah, I never mind answering that because I'm not really political or about it, but I
Okay.
did
You don't
not.
have to. You don't have to.
I did not get them. No, it's fine. And this is why I wasn't against them, but
Yeah.
I'm very intuitive and I always listen to my gut. Well, not
Mhm.
always. Most of the time, I listen to my gut. And every time I was going to go get it, I just would get sick to my stomach. I was like, I'm not supposed to do this.
Mhm.
And then later, when I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, my rheumatologist said, he said, I'm pro vax, but I'm really glad you didn't get it.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, why? And he said, you'd be a mess. And I was a mess.
Mhm.
I said, I'm already a mess. I'd be a bigger mess. I can't even imagine being a bigger mess than I am right now. And so he said, there's a time and a place, but anybody with autoimmune, that would have made their issues worse. And so, it's everybody has their opinion about it, but now I still wouldn't do it. I had a doctor that I actually left because he kept pushing that. That was his whole he was my pulmonologist. And
Mhm.
I mean, one of my aha days was the day I got diagnosed with pulmonary fibrosis. Like, on these things I'll talk about my diagnoses, but I don't want to be attached to them
Mhm.
because, not that I want to live in a lie or anything. I don't I believe it's up here, and our minds control everything, and
Yeah.
how we think controls everything. So this particular doctor that was pushing the vaccination for me, when I went to him the second time after we did all the testing and I went for my results, he turns around and the very first thing he says to me is, we need to talk about a lung transplant. And I'm like going in there thinking like my lungs were sick from COVID, but what the heck? And I thought he had the wrong file. And he said, well, you have pulmonary fibrosis now. I mean, he didn't even tell me that in the beginning. He just said, we should get you on a lung transplant. And then he continued to tell me, you're not getting a lung transplant list unless you're vaccinated. Just the bully tactics. And that didn't make me happy. I ended up leaving him. I didn't
Mhm.
stay with him as a doctor because I didn't feel like that was how he handled. I just didn't like his bedside manner, I guess. And he was a good doctor. But anyway, so I found somebody new. And that's the thing. The biggest thing I want to say to people that are listening that maybe are a caretaker of someone with long COVID, or you have long COVID, or you think you have long COVID, make sure you have an advocate. That's so important to have somebody with you. And if keep a notebook of all your appointments and all your things, but if you can't take someone with you, then have it recorded so that you can go back, because you do forget things that they say naturally. But with COVID, It just tends, so it's going to make you forget things probably more than you would. So those are definitely things I would do. And I was going to read to you the mission statement, by the way, of the nonprofit. I had to pull that
Go
because
ahead.
again, our brains don't fire as much as they used to, like we want. Our mission is to create the environment and resources to get people across the bridge from post-COVID experience to a future filled with hope. So that's what we do.
That's a good one. A good
I have
one.
a great our board of directors helped me create the nonprofit. We were on a mastermind for years, and then we became really good friends. And so they watched me suffer, and from their side of things, when I was in the hospital, thank heavens my sisters updated everybody, and they were so good about that. But they've been a great board of directors. I mean, we're on the right path. We're still new. Obviously, we need money.
Mhm.
Everybody needs money to do things. We have a gala coming up here in St. George, Utah on April 6th, and that will help us a little bit. But, we have donations on our website that people can go and make and help support however you can.
You-
But we are definitely, with our podcast that we just started, we interview people with long COVID, you caretakers, and we interview holistic and medical science things as well. So it's a good variety, but that's who we're for guests. And if you fit that mold and you're listening, I'd love for you to come talk to us about it.
Your website?
The website Adventure Bucket Wish
Mhm.
WISH.org. That's where you
Okay.
can go to look at that.
Okay. That's good. So adventurebucketwish.org. Okay, wonderful. So you have had that. You can head over to the website and connect with Holly. That's adventurebucketwish.org.
That'd be great.
Yes. And if you'd like to just go direct to Holly's website, which is your uh, profile, personal website.
Personal website is Holly Porter International.com.
Okay, so that's hollypotterinternational.com.
And
Thank
you
you
can
very much.
contact us through there as well.
Sorry?
You can contact us through there as well.
Yeah, you can contact them from there. So yeah, it's quite a story, quite a story. And you say that maybe we'd have to spend the whole day to hear about your experiences that you went through. But in short, uh, what was could there have been a specific thing that triggered this organization during those experiences? A specific experience during one of them.
Yeah. Well, I'm working on a book for this as well. And so I've been able to look at social media posts and comments and things where I can put together, like, when did I have the near death? Was it, and now I know it was first week I was in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
in between being intubated the first time and the second time. And my sister was there when I came out of it. And I felt kidnapped. I mean, that was when I had that. I felt like, I told her, I said that I was kidnapped. I was taken away. And I believe, I mean, I say jokingly, my guide, whoever came and got me to take me to the other side, made a mistake. They were in training and they messed up, had to bring me back. I mean, and that's maybe why I felt kidnapped, because I had her looking like there were people in my room that she couldn't see, but
Mm.
I could. I was like, and I knew I wasn't crazy. So I would tell them stories, and some of them were funny. They would laugh and they're like, "You never left this room. They did your surgeries in this room, everything the whole time you were here." And I said, "Oh, yes, I did." And most of them I would take my bed with me. So we have a chapter in the book called Me and My Bed, because my bed would go with me. And I think it was because if I left my bed, my body was there. And if it didn't come with me, then maybe I wouldn't get it back. I don't know. But anyway, those were most of my times in the hospital when I had the out of body experiences. there, then I always went in my bed. My near death, I left in my bed, but I didn't stay in my bed. So like there, it's interesting that if you didn't know the differences, I didn't actually till this last year, that out of body is one experience, near death is another experience, and then spiritual transformational experience is the third. I didn't realize they were all different, had all of them.
Mm.
So I feel very, very blessed that I was able to see the things and be told the things that I was and taught the things that I was, because I have a lot more passion now for where my life's going and what we're creating. And it's just been confirmed so many different times in so many different ways that I could have never told you until this last couple years, like what that was or where it's going to go, what it's going to do. I mean, now I know, I see the end result. I just have all the pieces in between.
Wow. So yeah, and sometimes they say that you can't see the dots ahead, you can only connect them looking back. So maybe at some point you say, "Oh, this is
Yeah,
why I went through this and that is why I ended up where I am right now."
agreed.
Thank you for sharing with us your story. Thank you for
Thank
telling us.
you. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, we have several people who are watching us, and we also want to thank you. We have Norita Thompson who says that she is so thankful and happy that you are alive and thriving.
She's the best. She actually brought me some DNA nutritional candy drops that really saved my life. They have been, I'm off all drugs. I walked out of the hospital on 12 and now I'm drug free. And those DNA drops, you can, if you go to the website, you can learn more about them. They're on both of those websites I gave you. But she was the angel that brought those to me.
Okay. Thank you,
Thank you.
Angel Norita. We appreciate you. Thank you for just making sure that we have Holly Potter around to just continue telling us stories.
Thank you.
So we are almost signing off from this episode, and once again, we thank you. But before we let you go, can you please tell us a few words that we should always remember? Which are they coming from you? Some words that are words of importance that we should always remember.
Well, always remember that you need to take care of you, because if you're not any good, you can't be any good to anyone else. And so really, really make sure that you're number one. It's not selfish to be number one, because you need to be there to help others, right? And if you're not good, you're no good to others. That's probably a big thing that I would do. Just don't lose hope. Know that if you're suffering and there's different ailments you're having, there's always some hope. There's always something good to look forward to, even when you're in the midst of all the crap. So look for it.
Wow, be good to yourselves, okay? You can be good to others. That's where it all starts. Thank you for sharing that with us. We really appreciate. And we wish you great times ahead. We wish you and your organization some prosperity. We wish you that you reach more people and help a lot of people through the organization.
Yeah, I we definitely need more support. So thank you for
Yeah,
having us.
calling all of you to please go and support the organization. That's adventurebucketwish.org. Head over there. And
Right.
yeah, if you need help, and you can find it there, but also you can go there to help.
Yes.
Yes. So that's about it for today. And we've come to the end of today's episode and appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you. You're
To
amazing.
everyone out, yeah, to everyone out there, remember to be good to yourself, to be good to others.
Yeah.
That's coming from Holly Potter. I have been your host, Anthony Murore at Now Tell Us, and together with our special guest, Holly Potter, we are just saying until next time, continue being good. Bye for now.